Hello, everybody. So welcome. Welcome to Money Matters with Hung Lu on Monday, December the 23rd. It is very quickly approaching Christmas. So before we get going on today's topic of, should you try to get into the lower tax bracket versus considering what your borrowing power would be. And so we're going to talk about that today. But before I get into that, I just want to wish everybody happy holidays. Couple days before Christmas. So yes, hope everybody is safe and happy spending time with your family. So before I get into the calculation, I do have to definitely today put a disclaimer on this because I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an accountant. So a lot of the information I may be slightly off on the numbers. And so you definitely do want to go and get some additional advice on this. Okay. Although I'm looking at numbers all the time, and, this is something that I consider for my own portfolio, my situation, it may not be the right thing for you. Okay, so let's get into it because I am excited to share this with you. So this is something that I go through on a regular basis because I will always have a mortgage that is up for renewal. Okay, so hands down, I'm always debating, okay, you know what, do I want to go back to a 9 to 5? Do I want to go back to a full-time engineering job making, really good salary? Or do I want to at least start paying myself, whether it's dividend or salary from my corporation, right, that I own to run my real estate? Okay. So, and that question comes up all the time because the banks will look at your salary, will look at the income that you've got coming in, and they will do their calculation to determine how much money they will lend you. So it really affects your borrowing power. And so one of the things that I always consider is, okay, well, how much do I need to show on my taxes so that I can leverage as much as I can and borrow more money as much as possible at the best interest rates, at the best repayment privileges possible. Okay, so all of that goes through my brain as I'm trying to figure this out and answer this. And every few years, I go through this exercise because your answer may change. Okay, now my answer hasn't changed. I've been retired from engineering, I don't know, 8 years now, maybe 10 years. And I look at this every couple of years because my mortgages come up and I'm like, okay, do I need to restructure something here, right? So I go through this all the time. So let's go into this and I'll walk you through this spreadsheet. Okay, now I'm not an accountant, so please go and double check this with your accountant. This also will differ depending on what province you're in. Okay, so just keep in mind. So I'm in BC, so I run my numbers. So this is based on BC. So if you're in a different province, you're definitely going to want to go and figure out what your provincial tax brackets are because that's different province to province. Okay, the federal stuff doesn't change regardless of where you are. Okay, so the first thing to keep in mind is that everybody has a provincial, okay, tax bracket plus, okay, a federal tax bracket to go with it. Okay, so it's not one or the other, it's both. You have a federal and a provincial. Okay, woohoo. Okay, so this table here is the provincial. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger here. So this table here on the left is the provincial and the table on the right is the federal. Okay, this is based on 2024. Okay, so this is very timing. We're at the end of the year and I usually get a head start on my taxes because I send stuff to my admin and all that stuff. And there's just like a lot of taxes and stuff to do. So I normally start around this time frame. Okay, so this is for 2024, so it's very relevant for right now. So in BC, these are our tax brackets, okay? And then you add on the federal one on top. Now, I love how the federal and the provincial don't talk to each other, okay? And what I mean by that is because the ranges from the provincial does not line up with the ranges for the federal, okay? So you're really doing a bunch of different calculations. Okay. And also, okay, the structure of how that calculation is done is very different depending on the federal or the provincial level. And what I mean by that is if you make $100,000, let's just say, well, for the provincial, it's actually quite easy because you just say, okay, well, I make between 95 to 110, so I'm in this 10.5% tax bracket. Okay, so that's very easy at the provincial level. At the federal level, though, it's not as easy. What they do is a bit of a waterfall. Okay, so if you're in this range, okay, then only the portion that's in that range is calculated at a certain percentage, which means that your income up to 55,867 is taxable at 15%. And then anything between the 55 to the 111,000 is at 20%. Okay. So it's sort of like a waterfall. Okay. And the calculation on that is a little bit more difficult because then you have to break it down by chunks. Okay. So what I've done, okay, is taken the calculation out of it and just said, okay, if your income is X amount, your federal tax bracket or your provincial tax amount is this number, okay? And then your federal tax number amount is this number based on the number that you enter for your annual income. And this is the amount that you would enter on your spreadsheet or in your tax package to the government, okay? So I've taken out all that crazy math that goes behind this. Your accountant and your financial advisor should be able to do this for you as well. You can also go onto websites, okay? There's tons of them out there. Okay, so let's just say, okay, and the reason why this is important here is because if I want to leverage with the bank to get as much HELOC money, to be able to qualify for another mortgage, to do anything like that, you need to have reported income. Otherwise, you have to go for the creative financing, which is the equity pullouts, no income declaration, vendor takebacks, agreement for sales, like assumable mortgage. Like there's a bunch of other strategies that you can do. So the math here is to say, okay, does it make sense for me to increase my taxes for the next 2 years? Okay, because you have to show a blend of your income or steady income for a period of 2 years, okay, to be able to utilize this without utilizing all of these strategic creative strategies that I just mentioned, okay? So does it make sense for me to increase my salary for 2 years so that I can leverage and get cheaper rates, more leverage and power? Okay, so let's just say, okay, I'm not going to start with the 250. Let's just say I increase my salary right now to $100,000. Okay, as opposed to reporting the lowest possible salary, which is like, $20,000, $30,000. Okay, so let's just say I was to pay myself $100,000 or go back to a full-time engineering job. Okay, so if I do that, I'm going to be effectively paying $27,000 to the government. This is calculating the provincial and the federal together based on the margins that they give me. Okay, so I'm going to be paying $27,000 to the government, which is effectively 27.9% in taxes that I have to pay. So the more money you make, the more taxes you're going to be giving, right? So in the last number I had here, let's say it's 250 that you pay to the government. Okay, you report on your taxes. You're paying 100,000 to the government, and effectively you're paying 40%. Okay, so I like to look at this as this is my life energy, like my time in my day that I have to go and put towards a 9 to 5 or towards my real estate portfolio. I have to declare this, and 40% of my life energy is going to go to the government. Okay. Do I want to do that? And obviously, no. Like I would rather my life energy be spent with my family, with my kid, traveling, doing stuff that I love to do. Okay. As much as I love working in real estate, okay, and as a lot of people tell me, Hung, you know what, when you talk about real estate, you're so passionate about it. Yes, as much as I am passionate about real estate, I do not want to spend my life energy working to pay the government. Okay, so that's not going to go into talking about, why I love being Canadian and all the benefits of being Canadian and why I do pay my taxes in full. Okay, that's a completely different topic. Okay, so does it make sense for me to focus on paying myself enough funds to pay to the government whatever the effective tax rate is so that I can leverage more? Okay, so the way I'm looking at this is, one, my life energy, I'd rather not pay myself so that I can leverage more to the government to leverage more money for borrowing. Okay. The other thing to keep in mind is you have to pay, let's just say $100,000 in taxes here. Now you have to report that for 2 years. That's $200,000 you have to pay to the government. Okay. So the question is can you borrow more than what the taxes are that you have to pay to the government? So can you borrow more than $200,000 if you were to pay yourself this amount of money and then go and leverage that? Okay. If the answer is yes, you can borrow more because you've structured it this way, then it might make sense for you to do this. If your life energy spent is not big on that scale for you. Okay. The other thing that you need to also keep in mind is the difference in the interest that you would be paying for the amount that you're going to be able to borrow. Okay. And what I mean by that is if you're able to borrow $200,000, well, you're borrowing it at whatever the prime rate is plus whatever, or you're borrowing it at, 4 or 5%. Okay. Whatever the lender is going to charge you. Okay. Versus going to a private lender at 10 to 15%, or doing one of the creative strategies that I'm talking about, like the equity pullouts, okay, which is anywhere from 12 to 15 to maybe 18%. Okay. The difference is whatever you're paying on the expensive loan minus the traditional lending practice. So the difference would be anywhere from 6 to potentially 12%. Okay, that's the difference. Is it worth your time to report a higher income so that you don't have to pay that 6 to 12%? Okay, now the way I look at it as well is if I'm reporting, let's just say 150,000, okay, I have to pay 34% to the government. Whereas I can just go and borrow money through one of these creative things and pay 12 to 18%. Okay, just from the percentage point, it just makes sense to go and get a private land or to do equity pullouts or to do one of the creative strategies, pay 12 to 18% and forgo the 34% that you have to pay to the government. Okay, so that is the calculation that we're running through today. Okay, this is going to be different for everybody. Okay, so I absolutely invite you that if you're going through this situation and you need a deeper dive into this, reach out to me. Okay, and I'll walk you through it. Even if you're in a different province, we can create this for a different province. Okay. Other than that, that is it. It is a short and sweet session today because we are in the holidays. I am getting back to going for my super long runs and doing my year-end review and planning for next year. So on that note, okay, I wish everybody a happy, oh, I raised my own hand. Okay. I wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, and hopefully you get some time to decompress and watch all the wonderful happy holiday movies. I also want to send out a lot of virtual hugs and warm kisses and everything to my family and friends and my supporters. Thank you everybody for watching and supporting me this year. And I will see everybody next Monday. Thanks everybody. Have a great day.